There are two parts of the Greek word democracy, demos meaning people and kratos meaning rule, resulting in the phrase people's rule. Democracy in our world involves citizens participating in their government through elected representatives or directly. Essentially, democracy stresses that people have a voice. We usually associate democracy with our modern parliaments, deriving the concept of majority rule. Yet is majority rule democratic or efficient? Socially, where the voting age is above 18, can a democratic society be ensured for all? When young adults are not given a democratic voice in our Australian majority voting, how can we expect democracy to work? Youth caring about climate change, mental health and social rights aren't represented in our democracy, which is why sometimes these issues are indifferently tackled by governments. However, democracy isn't confined to ballot boxes or buildings. In understanding democracy's essence, we need to consider the idea of having a voice. In today's world, young people have the opportunity to work, make choices, and uniquely interact with society. Let's look into Greta Thunberg. Thunberg's sign advocating a school strike for climate change in 2018 didn't just impact the Swiss government in meeting carbon emission targets, it inspired young people globally to vocalize the issue. We can see a connection with Western democracy by studying this, the French Revolution. However, we must recall how democracy began in Greece, spread to Rome, and reached France. Some countries passed down this idea of people's rule directly, whereas others were forced to introduce it without direct cultural communication. Similar to planting a rose without soil, metaphorically illustrating how people's rule can bring about change beyond institutional structures. The French Revolution mimics this idea. Despite descending into a bloodbath, the French Revolution has served as a model for modern democracies by demonstrating the power existing within people, connecting to the concept of people's rule. Even before France established legitimate democracy from a central monarchy, the simple display of an ordinary want of the ordinary person underscored how democracy was something of the people, by the people, for the people. Ultimately, modern democracy was established for all Western countries like Australia by ordinary people acting for change, resulting in extraordinary social change for ordinary people themselves. A similar example of democracy can be found in Thunberg's protest when leaders don't adhere to the idea of people's rule and young people are unheard. Young people voicing and participating in protests on a wide range of issues illustrate how powerful democracy can be, especially when it can be extended to more global digital platforms ranging beyond institutional structures, as in the French Revolution when the unheard public was forced to take democracy to the streets. In considering youth and protest directly, we can find connections with Athenian direct democracy, in which citizens were able to influence ancient Greece's policies. Like this, protests by young people reflect the ordinary person moving forward to make a decision that impacts everyone in society. Youth who skip school to advocate reduced carbon emissions ingrain themselves within a democratic system that impacts not just themselves, but their schools, families, peers, the government, and the world at large. As the virtual world expands, so does the idea of young people being activists and democratic influencers. Our young people today have the potential to drive change by bringing a fresh persona. This new persona is known as the Internet. In Web 2.0 villages, young people can form unprejudiced outlooks on the modern world from a mix of knowledge and unbiased opinions. By excluding young people from traditional democracies and forcing other forms of democracy to take course, we are increasing the threat Socrates identifies as one of the biggest challenges to democracy itself. Who is in charge of our ship? Just anyone or educated individuals? We need to consider whether excluding our most contemporary, well-gathered generation from our democratic system will produce a fruitful democracy in Australia. Perhaps it's time to lower the voting age or expand the range of youth councils and involve our young activists more in parliaments. In the meantime, youth will continue to influence democracy outside of buildings and ballot boxes by protesting, making influential choices, and even going online to influence a world beyond our nation.